Danny had felt alone his entire life. No parents, no answers, just endless questions. My name is Danny Carter, and I'm 10 years old. I live with my Aunt Rose in a small blue house at the edge of Pinewood. She's nice to me. She makes me breakfast. She helps me with homework. But there's always something missing in her eyes when I ask about my parents. Where are they? I would ask. Gone, she would say. But where did they go? I don't know, sweetheart. Did they love me? And that's when Aunt Rose would get quiet. Her face would go sad, and she would change the subject. At school, I watched other kids get picked up by their moms and dads. I watched them hug. I watched them laugh together. And I felt like a ghost. Like I was invisible. Like I didn't belong anywhere. The other kids didn't understand. They had families. They had people who wanted them. I had questions. So many questions. And nobody would answer them. Until the day the dog appeared. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. The air was cold. The leaves were orange and red. I was walking home from school, taking the long way because I didn't want to go back to the empty house yet. That's when I saw him. A dog. Brown and white fur, floppy ears, big brown eyes that seemed to look right into my soul. He was sitting on the sidewalk across the street, just staring at me. I stopped walking. The dog tilted his head like he was asking me a question. "Hey, buddy," I said softly. "Are you lost?" The dog stood up. He wagged his tail once. Then he barked. Not a loud bark, not an angry bark, a friendly bark, like he was saying hello. I looked around. Nobody else was on the street. No one was calling for their dog. "Where's your owner?" I asked. The dog barked again. Then he turned and started walking away. I don't know why, but I followed him. Maybe it was because I was lonely. Maybe it was because the dog seemed to know where he was going. Maybe it was because something deep inside me said, "Trust him." So I did. I followed the dog down Pine Street, past the library, past the grocery store, past the last row of houses in Pinewood. "Where are we going?" I called out. The dog looked back at me, like he was making sure I was still there. Then he kept walking. We reached the edge of town. Ahead of us were the mountains, tall, dark, covered in trees. I had never been to the mountains before. Aunt Rose always said they were dangerous. She said people got lost up there and never came back. But the dog didn't stop. He kept walking toward a narrow trail that disappeared into the trees. I should have turned back. I should have gone home, but I didn't. I followed the dog into the mountains. The trail was rocky and steep. Branches scratched my arms. The air got colder. The sun was starting to set, and shadows were everywhere. "Hey, boy," I called. "Maybe we should go back." But the dog didn't stop. He just kept climbing higher and higher. My legs were tired. My lungs burned. I wanted to quit. But every time I thought about turning around, the dog would look back at me with those big brown eyes, and I would keep going. We walked for what felt like hours, and then suddenly, the trees opened up. There was a clearing, and in the middle of the clearing was a small wooden cabin. Smoke was coming from the chimney. A garden was growing out front. A rusty old truck was parked on the side. Someone lived here. The dog ran up to the front door and scratched at it, barking excitedly. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I wanted to run, but before I could move, the door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall and thin. He had dark hair and a beard. He wore an old flannel shirt and boots. He looked down at the dog and smiled. "There you are, buddy," he said. "I was wondering where you went." Then he looked up, and he saw me. His smile disappeared. His face went pale. His eyes went wide, like he was seeing a ghost. "No," he whispered. "It can't be." I took a step back. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. I was just following the dog." "Danny?" the man interrupted, his voice shaking. I froze. "How do you know my name?" I asked. The man didn't answer. He just stood there, staring at me, his eyes filling with tears. Then a woman's voice came from inside the cabin. "John? Who's at the door?" The man, John, turned his head. "Sarah, you need to come out here. Now." A woman appeared beside him. She had long brown hair and tired eyes. She was wearing a sweater and jeans. She looked at me, and she gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. She stumbled forward, like her legs were about to give out. "Oh my God," she whispered. Danny. I backed away. Who are you people? How do you know my name? The man stepped toward me, his hands raised like he was trying to calm a scared animal. Danny, he said, his voice breaking. Please don't run. We can explain everything. Explain what? I shouted. I don't even know who you are. The woman was crying now, full on sobbing. She looked at the man, then back at me. Danny, she said, her voice trembling. My name is Sarah. This is John. And we're your parents. The world stopped. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just stood there, frozen, staring at these two strangers who said they were my mom and dad. No, I whispered. You're lying. We're not lying, John said, tears running down his face. We've been waiting for you for so long. We've been hoping you'd find us. You left me, I said, my voice shaking. You didn't want me. That's not true, Sarah cried. We never left you. We've been hiding. We've been protecting you. From what? I demanded. They looked at each other, then John spoke. From someone who wanted to hurt you. Someone dangerous. Someone who's been looking for us for 10 years. The dog, Buddy, sat down between us, wagging his tail. And I realized something. This wasn't a coincidence. This dog didn't just find me by accident. He brought me here on purpose. I didn't know what to believe. These people, John and Sarah, were standing in front of me, crying, saying they were my parents. But I had spent my whole life believing they didn't want me, that they abandoned me. How could they just show up now and expect me to believe them? I don't understand, I said, my voice cold. If you're really my parents, why did you leave me with Aunt Rose? Why didn't you come back? John wiped his eyes. Because we couldn't. It wasn't safe. Safe from what? I demanded. You keep saying that, but you're not telling me anything. Sarah stepped forward. Danny, please. Come inside. Let us explain. You must be cold and tired and hungry. I was all of those things, but I didn't want to admit it. I'm fine, I lied. Buddy barked and ran into the cabin. Then he came back out and barked at me again, like he was saying, come on, it's okay. I looked at the dog, then at John and Sarah, then at the darkening sky. I didn't have a choice. I was in the middle of the mountains. It was getting dark, and I had no idea how to get back home. Fine, I said, but I'm not staying long. Sarah's face lit up with relief. Thank you. I followed them inside. The cabin was small but warm. There was a fireplace with a crackling fire, a wooden table with chairs, a couch with blankets, and pictures on the walls. I stopped when I saw the pictures. They were photos of a baby, a little boy, a toddler holding a toy truck, a child laughing in a park. The child looked like me. Is that, I started to ask. That's you, Sarah said softly. We took those before everything happened, before we had to leave. I stared at the pictures. I didn't remember any of this. I didn't remember them. Why don't I remember you? I asked. You were only 6 months old when we left, John said. Too young to remember. My chest tightened. So, you left me when I was a baby? We had to, Sarah said, her voice breaking. Please, Danny, sit down. Let us show you something. I sat at the table, my arms crossed. Buddy lay down by my feet. John went to a closet and pulled out a large box. He set it on the table and opened it. Inside were papers, documents, photos, and letters, dozens and dozens of letters. What is all this? I asked. Proof, John said. Proof that we never forgot about you. Proof that we thought about you every single day. Sarah reached into the box and pulled out a stack of letters tied with string. She handed them to me. We wrote you a letter every week, she said, her voice trembling. For 10 years. We couldn't send them, but we wrote them anyway, because we needed you to know that we loved you. I untied the string and picked up the first letter. The paper was old and yellowed, the ink was faded, but I could still read it. Dear Danny, today is your first birthday. I wonder if Rose made you a cake. I wonder if you smiled when you saw the candles. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have held you and sang to you, but I can't. Not yet. Just know that wherever you are, I'm thinking of you. I love you so much, my sweet boy. Love, Mom. My throat tightened. I picked up another letter. Dear Danny, you're 2 years old now. You're probably walking and talking and getting into everything. I bet you ask a million questions. That's what babies do. They want to know everything. I hope someone is there to answer your questions. I hope someone is there to hold you when you're scared. I'm so sorry I can't be that person. But one day, I will be. I promise. Love, Dad. I couldn't read anymore. The words were blurring. My eyes were filling with tears. You really wrote these? I whispered. Every single one, Sarah said, sitting down beside me. We never stopped thinking about you, Danny. Never. I looked up at her. Then why didn't you come back for me? If you loved me so much, why did you stay away? John sat down across from me. His face was serious now, hard. Because there's a man named Victor Kane, he said. And if we had come back, he would have killed us. And then he would have come for you. A chill ran down my spine. Who is Victor Kane? I asked. Someone very dangerous, John said. Someone who wanted to destroy our family, and someone who's still out there, looking for us. I swallowed hard. What did you do to him? We found out the truth about him, John said, and he couldn't let us tell anyone. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. I didn't pull away. Danny, she said, we know this is a lot. We know you're confused and angry, but we're telling you the truth. We've been hiding here for 10 years to keep you safe, and now that you've found us, we need to decide what to do next. What do you mean? I asked. John leaned forward. We mean it's time to stop hiding. It's time to fight back, but we can't do it without you. I stared at him. What are you asking me to do? Help us, he said. Help us bring Victor Kane down, once and for all. I didn't sleep that night. Sarah had shown me to a small bedroom at the back of the cabin. She said it was supposed to be my room, that they had built it hoping I would come home one day. The bed was soft, the blankets were warm. Buddy had curled up beside me. But I couldn't stop thinking about everything they had told me. My parents, Victor Kane, 10 years of hiding. None of it made sense. When the sun came up, I got out of bed and walked into the main room. John was already awake, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee. Morning, he said. Morning, I replied. Did you sleep okay? Not really, he nodded. I figured. You want some breakfast? Sure. Sarah came out of their bedroom a few minutes later. She made scrambled eggs and toast. We ate in silence. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Tell me about Victor Kane, I said. John set down his fork. Are you sure you want to know? Yes, I said firmly. If I'm going to help you, I need to know everything. He looked at Sarah. She nodded. All right, John said. I'll tell you the whole story. He took a deep breath. 10 years ago, I worked for Victor Kane. He owned the biggest lumber company in Pinewood, Kane Industries. It employed half the town. He was rich, powerful. Everyone respected him. What did you do for him? I asked. I was his accountant, John said. I managed his money. I kept track of his expenses. I made sure everything was legal. Was it? I asked. Legal, I mean? John's jaw tightened. No, it wasn't. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the mountains. One day, I was going through the company's financial records. I noticed something strange. Money was disappearing, large amounts of it. It was being moved to secret accounts, accounts that didn't show up in any official reports. Where was the money going? I asked. That's what I wanted to know, John said. So I started digging. I stayed late at the office. I looked through old files. I talked to people who work for Victor, and eventually, I found out the truth. He turned to face me. Victor was stealing from his own company. He was taking money that was supposed to go to the workers' pensions, money that was supposed to go to safety equipment, money that was supposed to go to taxes. He was putting it all in his own pockets. That's illegal, I said. Very illegal, John agreed. But that wasn't the worst part. I also found out that Victor was cutting corners on safety regulations. He was sending workers into dangerous situations without proper equipment. And when people got hurt or killed, he covered it up. Sarah spoke up. 3 men died that year. 3 families lost their fathers. And Victor paid off the investigators to make it look like accidents. My stomach turned. That's horrible. It is, John said. And I couldn't let him get away with it. So I made copies of everything, all the financial records, all the safety reports, all the evidence. I put it all together in a file, and I was going to take it to the police. But you didn't, I said. I tried, John said bitterly. I went to Sheriff Dawson. I told him everything. I showed him the evidence. And you know what he did? I shook my head. He called Victor, John said, right there in front of me. He told Victor everything I had said. Because Victor owned him too. He owned the sheriff. He owned the mayor. He owned half the town. What happened then? I asked, even though I was afraid of the answer. Victor came to our house that night, Sarah said, her voice shaking at the memory. It was late. You were asleep in your crib. He knocked on the door. When John answered, Victor walked right in like he owned the place. John's hands were clenched into fists. He sat down at our kitchen table. He smiled at us. And then he told us that if we said one word to anyone about what I had found, he would make sure we disappeared. All three of us. He threatened to kill you, I whispered. He didn't say it exactly like that, John said, but we knew what he meant. He said accidents happen all the time. House fires, car crashes, people going missing in the woods. He said it would be very easy to make us disappear, and no one would ever know what really happened. Sarah wiped her eyes. We were terrified. We didn't know what to do. We couldn't go to the police. We couldn't go to the FBI because Victor had connections everywhere. We felt trapped. So you ran, I said. Not right away, John said. First, we tried to figure out a plan. We asked your Aunt Rose to take you for a few days while we sorted everything out. We thought maybe we could find someone outside of Pinewood who could help us. Someone Victor didn't control. But Victor found out, Sarah said. Someone must have told him we were asking questions. One night, 2 men showed up at our house. They didn't say who sent them, but we knew. They searched the house. They were looking for the evidence. Did they find it? I asked. No, John said, because I had already hidden it. I gave it to someone I trusted, someone Victor would never suspect. Who? I asked. John looked at me. Your Aunt Rose. My eyes widened. Aunt Rose has the evidence? She's had it for 10 years, Sarah said, hidden in her house, safe, waiting for the right time to use it. I sat back in my chair, my mind spinning. So all this time, I said slowly, Aunt Rose has known the truth. She's known where you were. She's known why you left. And she's been keeping your secret. Yes, John said, and she's been keeping you safe. Because as long as Victor didn't know where we were, he had no reason to hurt you. But if he ever found out we were still alive, if he ever found out we still had the evidence, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I understood now. My parents didn't leave me because they didn't want me. They left me to save my life. I looked down at Buddy, who was lying by my feet. He was watching me with those big, gentle brown eyes. You said you found Buddy 5 years ago, I said, that he was lost in the woods. That's right, Sarah said. He was just a puppy, skinny and scared. We heard him crying outside one night. When we opened the door, he ran right inside like he belonged here. We couldn't just leave him out there, John added, so we kept him. He's been with us ever since. I reached down and petted Buddy's head. He wagged his tail. Don't you think it's strange, I asked, that he showed up here 5 years ago and now he's the one who led me to you? John and Sarah looked at each other. We've thought about that, Sarah admitted. A lot, actually. At first we thought it was just coincidence, John said. But the more time passes, the more I wonder if maybe it was something more. Like what? I asked. John shrugged. I don't know. Fate, destiny, call it whatever you want. But Buddy has always been different, smart, almost like he understands things he shouldn't. Sarah nodded. Sometimes I swear he knows what we're thinking. Like when I'm sad, he comes and sits with me. When John is worried, Buddy follows him around. It's like he can sense our emotions. And today, John said, looking at the dog, he went into town. We didn't tell him to. He just left. And a few hours later, he came back with you. I stared at Buddy. You think he went looking for me on purpose? I don't know, Sarah said, but I believe some things are meant to happen. And maybe you finding us today was one of those things. Buddy barked softly, like he was agreeing. I thought about it, about how I had been feeling so alone, about how I had been walking home from school wishing I had a family. And then Buddy appeared, right when I needed him most. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Danny, I know this is overwhelming. I know you probably need time to process everything. But we need to make a decision soon. A decision about what? I asked. About what we're going to do, John said. We can't stay hidden forever, and now that you're here, Victor might find out. If he does, we'll all be in danger. So, what are our options? I asked. We have two, John said, counting on his fingers. One, we stay here and keep hiding. We keep you safe by keeping you away from us. You go back to Rose and pretend this never happened. My chest tightened. And the second option? We go back to Pinewood, John said. We get the evidence from Rose. We take it to someone who can help us. And we bring Victor down once and for all. But that's dangerous, I said. You said Victor has people everywhere. What if they catch us? They might, John admitted. But if we're smart, if we're careful, we might be able to do this. And if we succeed, we can finally stop running. We can finally be a family. I looked at Sarah. What do you think? She squeezed my hand. I think I'm tired of hiding. I think I'm tired of being afraid. But most of all, I'm tired of being separated from my son. So whatever we decide together. I looked down at Buddy again. He was still watching me, still waiting. And then I realized something. Buddy didn't just bring me here by accident. He brought me here because it was time. Time to stop hiding. Time to face the truth. Time to fight. I want to do it, I said. I want to help you take down Victor Kane. John's eyes widened. Danny, are you sure? This is dangerous. We could get hurt. I'm sure, I interrupted. You've been protecting me my whole life. Now it's my turn to help you. Besides, I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of not having answers. If we're going to be a family, then we need to fight for it. Sarah started crying again, but this time they were happy tears. Okay, John said, his voice thick with emotion. Then we're doing this. Together. He stood up and pulled out a map of Pinewood from a drawer. He spread it on the table. Here's the plan, he said. We'll leave tomorrow morning. We'll take the back roads to avoid being seen. We'll go to Rose's house first and get the evidence. Then we'll drive to the state capitol and take everything to the state police. They're not connected to Victor. They'll listen. What if Victor finds out we're back? I asked. Then we'll be ready, John said, his jaw set with determination. He looked at Sarah, then at me, then at Buddy. We've been running for 10 years, he said. But starting tomorrow, we fight back. We left at dawn. John packed the truck with supplies, food, water, blankets, and the box of evidence. Everything we would need to prove Victor Kane's crimes. Sarah made me wear a hat and a jacket with a hood. Just in case, she said. We don't want anyone recognizing you until we're ready. Buddy jumped into the back seat of the truck and sat beside me. He seemed excited, like he knew we were going on an adventure. As we drove down the mountain, I looked back at the cabin. It was the place my parents had called home for 10 years. The place where they had hidden. The place where they had waited for me. Will we come back here? I asked. John looked at me in the rearview mirror. I hope we won't have to. I hope after today, we can live anywhere we want, without fear. We drove in silence for a while. The road was bumpy and narrow. Trees surrounded us on both sides. It felt like we were the only people in the world. Danny, Sarah said, turning around in her seat to look at me. When we get to Rose's house, there's something you need to know. What? I asked. Rose has been protecting us for a long time. She's risked a lot to keep our secret, but she's also scared. She's been living with the fear that Victor might find out what she knows. So when you see her, please be kind. She did what she thought was best. I know, I said. I'm not mad at her. Not anymore. Sarah smiled. Good, because she loves you very much. After 2 hours of driving, we reached the outskirts of Pinewood. The sun was higher now. People were starting their day. I saw cars on the road, people walking on the sidewalks. Everything looked normal. But I knew the truth. Somewhere in this town was a dangerous man who wanted to hurt my family. Stay low, John warned. We don't want anyone seeing us yet. I slouched down in my seat. Buddy lay across my lap like he was trying to hide me. We drove through the back streets, avoiding the main roads. Finally, we pulled up to Aunt Rose's house. It looked exactly the same. Small, blue, flowers in the front yard. Home. Wait here, John said, getting out of the truck. I'll go talk to Rose first. He walked up to the front door and knocked. A moment later, the door opened. Aunt Rose stood there in her robe, her hair messy, her face tired. When she saw John, she gasped. "John," she whispered, "what are you doing here? It's not safe." "I know," John said, "but we don't have a choice anymore. We need the evidence. Today." Rose's eyes widened. "Why? What happened?" "Danny found us," John said. Rose's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, is he—" "He's fine," John said. "He's in the truck, with Sarah and Buddy." Rose looked past John and saw the truck. She saw me sitting in the back seat. Our eyes met. And then she ran. She ran down the driveway in her slippers and robe. She yanked open the truck door and pulled me into her arms. "Danny," she sobbed. "Oh, Danny, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Aunt Rose," I said, hugging her back. "I understand now. You were trying to protect me." She pulled back and looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Did they tell you everything?" "Everything," I said. She looked at John and Sarah, who had gotten out of the truck. "So you're really doing this? You're really going after Victor?" "We have to," John said. "We can't keep running. Not anymore." Rose wiped her eyes. "Then you'll need this." She went back inside the house. A few minutes later, she came back carrying a large envelope. She handed it to John. "I've kept this hidden for 10 years, she said, "in a fireproof safe in my basement. Nobody knows it's there, not even Danny." John opened the envelope. Inside were documents, financial records, safety reports, photos, everything he had collected 10 years ago. "It's all here," he said, his voice filled with relief. "This is enough to put Victor away for life." "Where will you take it?" Rose asked. "The state police," Sarah said. "We're leaving now. We'll drive straight to the Capitol and turn everything over to them." Rose nodded. Then she looked at me. "Danny, do you want to stay here with me? You don't have to go with them. It might be dangerous." I looked at John and Sarah, then at Buddy, then back at Rose. "I'm going with them," I said. "They're my family. I'm not letting them do this alone." Rose's face crumpled, but she nodded. "I understand." She hugged me one more time. "Be careful, all of you." "We will," John promised. We got back in the truck. As we pulled away from the house, I looked back at Aunt Rose. She was standing in the driveway, waving goodbye. I had a feeling everything was about to change. We were halfway to the state capitol when I noticed the car. It was black, sleek, expensive looking, and it had been following us for the last 10 minutes. "Dad," I said. The word felt strange on my tongue, but also right. "I think someone's following us." John looked in the rearview mirror. His jaw tightened. "I see it," he said. Sarah turned around. "Are you sure? Maybe they're just going the same direction. At the exact same speed? Keeping the exact same distance?" John shook his head. "No, they're following us." My heart started pounding. "Is it Victor?" "I don't know," John said, "but we're about to find out." He pressed down on the gas pedal. The truck sped up. The black car sped up too, staying right behind us. "What do we do?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with fear. "Hold on," John said. He took a sudden turn off the highway onto a side road. The tires squealed. I grabbed onto Buddy to keep him from sliding across the seat. The black car followed. "They're definitely following us," John said through gritted teeth. We were on a narrow country road now. Trees on both sides, no other cars, no houses, nowhere to hide. The black car was getting closer. "John!" Sarah screamed. The black car pulled up beside us. I could see the driver now, a man in sunglasses. He was talking on a phone. Then the car swerved toward us, trying to force us off the road. "Hold on!" John yelled. He jerked the steering wheel to the right. We went off the road, bumping over rocks and dirt. The truck bounced wildly. I hit my head on the ceiling. Buddy yelped. John fought to control the truck. We were heading straight for a ditch. "John!" Sarah screamed again. At the last second, John yanked the wheel back. The truck swerved, missing the ditch by inches. We bounced back onto the road. The black car was right behind us again. "Who are these people?" I shouted. "Victor's men," John said. "They must have been watching Rose's house. They saw us pick up the evidence." "What do they want?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. "The evidence," John said, "and to make sure we never talk." The black car rammed into us from behind. The whole truck shook. Sarah screamed. "We have to lose them," she said. "I'm trying," John yelled. Up ahead, I saw a fork in the road. One way led deeper into the country. The other way led toward a small town. "Go toward the town," I shouted. "There will be people there. They can't hurt us if there are witnesses." John nodded. He took the turn toward the town, tires screeching. The black car followed. We raced down the road. Buildings started to appear. A gas station, a diner, a few houses. John pulled into the parking lot of the diner and slammed on the brakes. We jumped out of the truck. "Inside," John ordered. "Now!" We ran into the diner. It was small and old-fashioned. There were a few people eating breakfast, a waitress behind the counter, an old man reading a newspaper. They all looked up when we burst through the door. "Call the police," Sarah shouted. "Someone's trying to hurt us." The waitress grabbed the phone. I ran to the window and looked outside. The black car had stopped in the parking lot, but the driver wasn't getting out. He was just sitting there, watching us. "Why isn't he coming in?" I asked. "Because there are witnesses," John said, breathing hard. "He can't do anything with all these people around." "What do we do now?" Sarah asked. Before John could answer, a police car pulled into the parking lot. The black car immediately drove away, disappearing down the road. A police officer got out and walked into the diner. He was young, with short brown hair and a serious expression. "Someone called about trouble?" he asked. "Yes," John said, stepping forward. "Officer, my name is John Carter. This is my wife, Sarah, and our son, Danny. Someone was following us. They tried to run us off the road. They were trying to hurt us." The officer pulled out a notepad. "Did you get a license plate number?" "No," John admitted. "It happened too fast." "Can you describe the car?" "Black sedan, expensive, tinted windows. The driver was wearing sunglasses." The officer wrote this down. "Do you know why someone would be following you?" John hesitated. This was it, the moment of truth. "Yes," he said finally. "We have evidence of crimes committed by a powerful man in Pinewood. His name is Victor Kane. He's been trying to keep us silent for 10 years. The officer's pen stopped moving. He looked up. "Victor Kane? From Kane Industries? You know him?" Sarah asked. "Everyone knows him," the officer said slowly. "He's one of the wealthiest men in the state. He donates to police departments, hospitals, schools." "He's also a criminal," John said firmly, "and we can prove it." The officer looked uncertain. "Sir, these are serious accusations. Do you have any proof?" John held up the envelope. "Everything's in here. Financial records, safety violations, evidence of bribery and corruption, and proof that 3 men died because of his negligence." The officer stared at the envelope. I could see him thinking, weighing his options. "Please," Sarah said, "we're trying to get this to the state police, but Victor's men found us. They're trying to stop us. Our son could have been killed today." The officer looked at me. I must have looked terrified because his expression softened. "All right," he said. "I'll escort you to the state capitol myself. You can give your statement there. But if this turns out to be nothing—" "It won't," John interrupted. "I promise you, it won't." The officer nodded. "Follow me, and don't stop for anything." The drive to the state capitol took 2 hours. The officer, his name was Officer Martinez, drove in front of us the whole way. Every few minutes, John would check the mirrors to make sure we weren't being followed. Buddy sat quietly beside me, his head resting on my lap. I petted him absently, my mind racing with everything that had happened. This morning, I had woken up in my parents' cabin in the mountains. Now I was racing toward the state capitol with evidence that could bring down one of the most powerful men in the region. My life had completely changed in less than 24 hours. "You okay back there?" Sarah asked, turning to look at me. "I think so," I said. "Are you scared?" "Terrified," she admitted, but also hopeful. For the first time in 10 years, I feel like we might actually have a chance. "What happens after we give them the evidence?" I asked. "They'll investigate," John said. They'll verify everything. And if we're right, and I know we are, they'll arrest Victor. They'll freeze his assets. They'll make sure he can't hurt anyone else. And then, I pressed. John met my eyes in the rearview mirror. And then we get to be a family, a real family. We can live in a real house. You can go to school. We can have dinner together every night. All the normal things we should have been doing for the past 10 years. My throat got tight. I had wanted that for so long, a normal family, a normal life. What about Aunt Rose? I asked. She'll always be part of our family, Sarah said. She saved us, Danny. We owe her everything. We pulled up to a large government building. Officer Martinez parked and motioned for us to follow him inside. The state police headquarters was intimidating. Lots of officers in uniform, people hurrying back and forth. Everything looked official and serious. Officer Martinez led us to an office on the third floor. A nameplate on the door read, Captain Jennifer Walsh. He knocked. Come in, a woman's voice called. We entered. Captain Walsh was sitting behind a desk typing on a computer. She was in her 50s with gray hair pulled back in a bun and sharp, intelligent eyes. Martinez, she said, looking up. What brings you here? These people have information about a case I think you'll want to hear about, Officer Martinez said. Captain Walsh gestured to the chairs in front of her desk. Sit. Tell me everything. For the next hour, John explained everything. He told her about working for Victor Kane, about discovering the financial fraud and safety violations, about the 3 men who died, about Victor's threats, about 10 years of hiding. Sarah added details. I sat quietly, listening to my parents tell their story. When they finished, Captain Walsh was silent for a long moment. This is a serious accusation, she said finally. Victor Kane is a very prominent businessman. If we move forward with this, we need to be absolutely certain. We are certain, John said, pushing the envelope across the desk. It's all in here. Captain Walsh opened the envelope. She pulled out document after document, studying each one carefully. She spent 20 minutes reading. None of us spoke. The only sound was the rustling of papers and the ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, she looked up. This is enough, she said. More than enough. I'll assemble a task force immediately. We'll need full statements from both of you, and we'll need to place you in protective custody until Victor is in custody. Protective custody? Sarah asked nervously. It's for your safety, Captain Walsh explained. If Victor finds out you're here, he might try something desperate. We'll put you in a safe house until the arrest is made. How long will that take? John asked. 24 to 48 hours, Captain Walsh said. We need to verify the evidence, get warrants, coordinate with local law enforcement. But I promise you, by this time tomorrow, Victor Kane will be under arrest. I felt a weight lift off my chest. It was really happening. After 10 years, my parents were finally going to be free. What about Rose? I asked suddenly. Aunt Rose. She's back in Pinewood. What if Victor's men go after her? Captain Walsh nodded approvingly. Smart kid. Martinez, call the Pinewood Police Department. Have them send a unit to Rose Carter's address immediately. Tell them to stay there until further notice. Yes, ma'am, Officer Martinez said, pulling out his phone. Captain Walsh stood up and extended her hand to John. Mr. Carter, you did the right thing. It took courage to come forward. John shook her hand. I should have done it 10 years ago. You did it now, Captain Walsh said. That's what matters. Now let's get you and your family somewhere safe. As we followed her out of the office, I felt Buddy press against my leg. I looked down at him. He wagged his tail. Somehow, I knew everything was going to be okay. The safe house was a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. It had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room, and bars on all the windows. 2 officers were stationed outside. Captain Walsh said they would be there around the clock. You'll be safe here, she promised. Don't open the door for anyone except me or my officers. Don't make any phone calls. Don't go outside, understood? We all nodded. Good, she said. I'll update you as soon as we have news. After she left, we sat in the living room, not quite knowing what to do. It felt strange. After all the running, all the fear, all the hiding, we were finally still, waiting. Sarah made sandwiches for lunch. We ate quietly. Buddy lay on the floor watching us. I keep thinking they're going to come through the door, Sarah said quietly. Victor's men. I keep thinking they're going to find us." "They won't," John said, but I could hear the tension in his voice. He was scared too. I walked to the window and looked out. The street was quiet, normal. People were going about their lives, not knowing that a few blocks away, my family was hiding from a dangerous man. "Danny," Sarah said, "come sit with us." I sat between them on the couch. Sarah put her arm around me. John took my hand. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered. "I'm so sorry you're caught up in all this. You should be in school right now, playing with friends, living a normal life." "I don't want a normal life if it means not having you," I said. She started crying, happy tears this time. "We're going to make up for lost time," John promised. "Once this is over, we're going to do everything we missed. Birthdays, holidays, school events, everything." "I'd like that," I said. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking. They asked me about school, about Aunt Rose, about my life. I asked them about the cabin, about what they did all day, about Buddy. "Where do you think he came from?" I asked, looking at the dog. "Really?" John shrugged. "We've asked ourselves that question 100 times. He wasn't chipped. We checked. No one ever came looking for him. It's like he just appeared out of nowhere." "Maybe he was meant to find you," I said. "Maybe he was meant to bring us together." Sarah smiled. "I like that idea." As the sun began to set, Captain Walsh called. John put her on speakerphone. "We've verified the evidence," she said. "It's all legitimate. We've secured warrants for Victor Kane's arrest, along with 3 of his senior employees. We'll execute the warrants tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. "Tomorrow morning," John repeated, his voice shaking. "That's really happening." "Yes," Captain Walsh said. "And I have more good news. Rose Carter is safe. We have 2 officers stationed at her house. Victor's men tried to approach earlier, but our officers scared them off." "Thank God," Sarah breathed. "Get some rest," Captain Walsh said. "Tomorrow is going to be a big day. By tomorrow night, this will all be over." After she hung up, we just sat there, letting it sink in. 10 years of running, 10 years of fear, and tomorrow, it would end. "What do we do now?" I asked. "We wait," John said, "and we stay together." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Buddy curled up beside me. So much had happened in just 2 days. I had gone from feeling completely alone to having a family, from having no answers to knowing the truth. I thought about Victor Kane, about how one person's greed had destroyed so many lives. 3 men dead, my family torn apart, Aunt Rose living in fear. But tomorrow, he would pay for what he did. I must have eventually fallen asleep because the next thing I knew, John was shaking me awake. "Danny," he whispered, "wake up. Something's wrong." I sat up, my heart pounding. "What? What is it?" "The officers outside," John said, his face pale. "They're not answering their radios. And I saw someone moving in the parking lot." Sarah appeared in the doorway, her phone in her hand. "I tried calling Captain Walsh. No answer. I tried calling 911. The line's dead." "Someone cut the phone lines," John said. My blood turned to ice. "Victor's men. They found us." Buddy started growling, his fur standing up, and then we heard it. Footsteps in the hallway outside our door. Someone was coming. "Get away from the door," John whispered urgently. We backed into the bedroom. John grabbed a lamp, the only weapon he could find. Sarah pulled me behind her. Buddy stood in front of us, still growling. The footsteps stopped right outside our door. Then, bang, bang, bang. Someone was trying to break it down. "The fire escape," Sarah hissed, pointing to the window. John ran to it and tried to open it. Locked. Bang! The door was splintering. "Stand back!" John grabbed the lamp and smashed the window. Glass shattered everywhere. He knocked out the remaining shards and looked outside. The fire escape was rusty but intact. "Go!" he ordered. Sarah climbed out first, then me, then Buddy, who I had to lift through carefully to avoid the broken glass. Just as John climbed through, the apartment door burst open. 2 men in black suits rushed in. "There!" one of them shouted, spotting us. "Move!" John yelled. We scrambled down the fire escape. It rattled and groaned under our weight. I was terrified it would collapse. Below us, I could see more men in the parking lot, 4 of them, all looking up. "They're everywhere," I said. "Keep going," John said. We reached the 2nd floor. One of the men from the apartment appeared at the window above us, starting to climb down after us. When we reached the ground, the four men started running toward us. This way! John grabbed my hand and we ran. We sprinted between buildings, through alleys, past dumpsters. Behind us, I could hear footsteps pounding, men shouting, getting closer. Buddy was barking now, running alongside us. We burst out onto a main street. Cars honked as we ran across. The men were right behind us. In here! Sarah pulled us into a 24-hour convenience store. The clerk looked up, startled. Call the police, John shouted. Those men are trying to kill us. The clerk reached for the phone, but before he could dial, the door burst open. Two of Victor's men walked in. Nobody move, one of them said calmly. He pulled back his jacket, showing a gun tucked in his waistband. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. The man walked toward us slowly. Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter, and young Danny, Victor would like to speak with you. We're not going anywhere with you, John said, putting himself between the man and me. The man smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. You don't have a choice. Actually, a voice said from the doorway, they do. Everyone turned. Captain Walsh stood there, her gun drawn. Behind her were 6 officers, all armed. Drop the weapon, she ordered. Now. Victor's man hesitated. His hand moved toward his gun. Don't, Captain Walsh warned. You're surrounded. There's no way out. For a long moment, nobody moved. The tension in the store was suffocating. Then slowly the man raised his hands. All right, we're done here. On the ground, Captain Walsh ordered. All of you, hands behind your heads. The 4 men complied. Officers rushed in and handcuffed them. Captain Walsh holstered her weapon and walked over to us. Are you all okay? How did you find us? Sarah asked, her voice shaking. I couldn't reach the officers outside your safe house, Captain Walsh explained. When I sent a unit to check, they found them unconscious, drugged. I knew Victor's men had found you. We've been searching for the past hour. The others, John said, there were more of them, in the apartment building. Already in custody, Captain Walsh said, all 6 of them. She looked at the men on the ground. These were Victor's personal security team, which means he knows we're coming for him. Where is he? John asked. We're about to find out, Captain Walsh said. She pulled out her phone and made a call. This is Captain Walsh. Proceed with the warrant. All teams move in now. She hung up and looked at us. It's over. Right now, as we speak, 20 officers are surrounding Victor Kane's mansion. He's not getting away this time. I felt my knees go weak. Sarah caught me. It's really over? I whispered. It's really over, Captain Walsh confirmed. We sat outside the convenience store while paramedics checked us over. Buddy stayed right by my side the whole time. 20 minutes later, Captain Walsh's phone rang. She answered, listened, and then smiled. Victor Kane is in custody, she announced. He tried to run, but we had all the exits blocked. He's on his way to the station right now. John closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Sarah started crying. I just felt numb. 10 years. 10 years of hiding. 10 years of fear. And just like that, it was over. What happens now? I asked. Captain Walsh smiled. Now? You get to go home. All of you. You get to be a family. 3 months later. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework when I heard the front door open. Danny, we're home, Sarah called. I ran to meet them. John and Sarah had been at the courthouse all morning, the final day of Victor Kane's trial. Well, I asked eagerly, what happened? John smiled, a real, genuine smile. I had been seeing those a lot more lately. Guilty, he said, on all counts. Financial fraud, manslaughter, bribery, corruption, witness intimidation. The judge gave him 40 years. 40 years, I repeated. So he'll be in prison for a long time. For the rest of his life, most likely, Sarah said. He's already 63. He won't be hurting anyone ever again. I felt a weight lift that I hadn't even realized was still there. We had moved into a house in Pinewood 2 months ago. It was small but comfortable. 3 bedrooms, one for John and Sarah, one for me, and one that we turned into an office. There was a backyard where Buddy could run around, and it was only 2 blocks from Aunt Rose's house. Speaking of Aunt Rose, she came over for dinner that night, just like she did every Friday. I brought dessert, she announced, holding up a pie. Apple, Danny's favorite. Thanks, Aunt Rose, I said, giving her a hug. We sat around the table together, John, Sarah, Aunt Rose, and me. Buddy lay under the table hoping someone would drop food. I got an email from the county today, John said. They're renaming the park downtown. They're calling it Memorial Park now, in honor of the 3 men who died working for Victor. That's wonderful, Rose said. Their families must be so grateful, finally getting recognition for what happened. They are, Sarah said. We met with them last week. They thanked us for coming forward, for making sure Victor paid for what he did. You did a brave thing, Rose said, looking at John and Sarah. You could have stayed hidden. You could have stayed safe, but you chose to fight. We didn't have a choice, John said. Not really. Not after Danny found us. Everyone looked at me. I just followed a dog, I said with a shrug. We all laughed. After dinner, I took Buddy for a walk. It was a warm spring evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I thought about everything that had happened, about how 3 months ago I was alone. No family, no answers, just questions that nobody would answer. And now I had everything I'd ever wanted. Parents who loved me, a home, a family. All because of a dog who led me into the mountains. When I got back to the house, I found John and Sarah sitting on the porch. Can we talk? Sarah asked. Sure, I said, sitting between them. We wanted to ask you something, John said. We know you've been living with us for a few months now, and we wanted to know, how are you feeling about everything? I thought about it. I'm happy, I said honestly. Really happy. Happier than I've ever been. Even though your life completely changed? Sarah asked. Especially because my life completely changed, I said. I spent my whole life feeling like something was missing, like there was a hole inside me that I couldn't fill. But now I know what was missing. It was you. Both of you. Sarah started crying. We missed so much. Your first day of school, your first lost tooth, so many birthdays and Christmases. But we're here now, John said, and we're going to make up for all of it, if you'll let us. Of course I'll let you, I said. You're my parents. You're my family. We sat there together, watching the sun go down. Buddy lay across our feet, keeping us warm. Danny, John said quietly, there's one more thing. It's just a formality, really, but we wanted to ask. Would you be okay if we officially adopted you? Made it legal? I looked at him. You mean, you want to be my parents for real? Not just, officially? Officially, Sarah said. We want you to be our son in every way possible. I felt tears prick my eyes. Yes, I said. I would really, really like that. They hugged me tight, both of them. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I truly belonged somewhere. That night as I lay in bed, Buddy curled up beside me. I thought about how different everything was now. I had followed a dog into the mountains. And I had found the family that never stopped looking for me. 5 years later, I'm 15 years old. John works as an accountant for an honest company. Sarah teaches art at the local community college. Aunt Rose comes over for dinner every Friday without fail. And Buddy? He's still with us. A little older, a little slower, but still the best dog in the world. Sometimes I wonder where he really came from, who he belonged to before he found my parents in the mountains. But then I realize it doesn't matter, because Buddy wasn't lost. He was exactly where he needed to be, just like me.